Scott Papalardo is one of hundreds of millions of gun owners in the United States. But in a show of solidarity with the victims of the Parkland High School shooting, he's now destroying his assault rifle.
I can't live knowing that my gun's out there and it can one day possibly commit a horrific act like the other day in Florida.
The deaths of 17 students and teachers have reignited the debate over gun ownership in the country. The biggest gun lobby in the US, the National Rifle Association, says guns don't kill people, people do.
That firearm did not walk itself into the school. An individual who was allowed to go unchecked by the Broward County Sheriff's Office allowed that firearm to go in the school. This is not the fault, nor are 5 million innocent law-abiding Americans culpable for this.
But survivors of the attack say the NRA is putting profits before people.
Is she actually saying anything, or is that just a tone to distract the American public and distract her NRA members from the fact that she's not serving them? She is serving the gun manufacturers.
And they're joining gun control activists to demand a ban on the sale of semi-automatic guns. They also want companies and investors to stop supporting the gun lobby. A growing list of brands has responded by cutting marketing ties with the NRA. Major financial institutions like the Bank of America and BlackRock say they're reviewing their relations with weapons manufacturers, and tech giants like Alphabet, Apple, and Amazon are under pressure to drop NRA-sponsored content from their platforms. The NRA appears to be unmoved.
Let it be absolutely clear, the loss of a discount will neither scare nor distract one single NRA member from our mission to stand and defend the individual freedoms that have always made America the greatest nation in the world.
It isn't about any of the things we've been hearing.
But the anti-gun movement is forcing lawmakers to take notice. And representatives of some states say they will enact stricter laws if the federal government doesn't.
We're here because the students of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School have started a movement to turn once again, in their own words, into never again. And we stand with them today, and we commit to them that we will fight to make sure that never again actually becomes a reality.
The NRA counts US President Donald Trump as an ally. It was a major contributor to his presidential campaign, and he's promised to protect the right to bear arms and form militias as enshrined in the Second Amendment of the country's constitution. But calls for stricter laws are growing louder, and that could force President Trump and many other politicians to ditch the NRA. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
So let's go to Deerfield Beach in Florida and join our correspondent John Brain, who is over there. John, great to have you with us. Give us an idea of the mood among the community where you are. Is the anger that we've seen in recent days continuing to grow?
Yes, very much so. We were actually at the school on Sunday where they held what was described as an orientation session. This was for staff and pupils to come to the school before lessons begin properly and to just ease their way back in. And virtually the entire community of Parkland turned out. There were hundreds and hundreds of people. Most of them had brought flowers. And there was a real sense of anger and determination that things really do have to change this time. And you do sense that there's been something of a shift in the public mood in this country, that never again, as we just heard, should actually really mean never again. Of course, the big question is whether that momentum will continue in the weeks and months to come. But there is a sense that something has changed in American society, and that change will, of course, have its impact on the business and economic side of things as well, as we're seeing with these businesses already cutting their ties to the NRA. So something substantial does appear to be happening.
You're absolutely right, John, and there does seem to be this greater awareness of the nexus between the gun lobby and the firearms industry. I mean, one student says no longer can you take money from the NRA because we're coming after you. So when you look across America, you're sensing a real shift in the debate that you sense could be permanent.
Well, it's certainly a shift. Whether it's permanent or not, we just don't know at this stage. But it is interesting that these companies are cutting or reducing their ties with the NRA, because they're not making decisions on sentiment. They're taking hard-nosed business decisions. And they've obviously decided that young people, such as the ones at Parkland and across the country, they're going to be the next customers for these airlines and these rental companies. And they're making the calculation that they will not have those new customers in the future if they maintain their ties with the NRA. So that's quite significant. We'll have to see how far that spreads and how permanent it is. Because, of course, there have been many, many tragedies in the past which haven't led to change. Indeed. Maybe this one will.
Indeed there have. John Brain in Florida, thank you very much indeed. Let's get more insight on this now, on the corporate reaction to the shootings. Joining us live from London is Chris Roebuck. He's a visiting professor of transformational leadership at the Cass Business School. Great to have you once again, Chris. Look, there have been, as John said, many school shootings, sadly, in the US. Why are corporations getting behind this effort for stricter gun control now, rather than in all of these previous incidents?
I think one of the critical reasons is that those involved in this particular shooting were at an extremely good school. They're teenagers, they're internet, social media savvy, they're able to express their own views. So they've created a PR momentum that says we want change. And if you look at the polls that are coming out in terms of the overall American population, you've got somewhere in the region of maybe 80 to 90% of the American population who say we need to do something about gun control. The commercial imperative is quite simple. The calculation is so basic. Look, we're a corporation. Either we can keep in with the NRA, which is 5 million people, so maybe 5% of the population, and we can upset 95% of the population, or we can upset 5% of the population, i.e. our consumers, and keep 95% happy. It's a no-brainer.
Perhaps, Chris, but as we said, we've been here before. What happens when the media spotlight moves away from all of this? Does that PR imperative that you talk about also move away with that?
I think what is different here is the people that are promoting the transformation and the eloquence and the social media skills of the students concerned, who are the victims, who have their own personal credibility, means that if they are genuinely determined to make this happen, they will keep the pressure up. With previous shootings in terms of the NRA brand, etc., what happened was that after a certain amount of time, the momentum dropped because those who were involved weren't as eloquent a group at promoting their agenda. I think the other thing that is slightly different this time is that the issue of assault weapons in particular has come to the fore, and that this group are saying, no, we don't want to take away everybody's guns, but nobody should have a military assault rifle in their possession because it's not something you defend your house with. And the NRA has taken a position to say, we don't want any change. So the positions have been slightly more clearly defined, and I think the NRA has got itself into a position where they are trying to justify something that a significant proportion of the American population do not see as sensible.
Let's break this down into hard dollars and cents, though. I mean, in terms of the sheer scale of the amount of money that the pro-gun lobby can wield, that surely dwarfs the kind of money that now the anti-gun lobby has to offer and can bring to the table.
That's a fair point in terms of the specifics of how much money each of those groups has. But I think what is really interesting about this particular case is that the anti-gun lobby group doesn't have to have the same amount of money as the NRA. They just merely have to use the money they have to change the opinions of the rest of the population. And what is happening is that that movement, I believe, is starting to happen if they can keep that momentum up. And also there's a fundamental logic behind what the group from the school are saying, particularly about assault rifles. The whole issue is ridiculously simple. As an ex-military officer, those weapons are capable of shooting hundreds of rounds a minute. They can shoot through walls, they can shoot through cars, so there is no justification for a normal person having one of those. And in a situation like the school, you don't even have to shoot at the people, you just shoot through the wall. So therefore, their logic of saying these guns are really bad, we're not focusing on all guns, has resonated with a larger group of the American population.
Very interesting. Chris Roebuck from the Cass Business School in London, thank you very much indeed.